Flynn.
What up? What up? What up? No fucking regretters. Hanging out, broadcasting live from quarantine. Shelter in place. Lockdown. Northern California. We're not allowed to do basically anything. There's nothing going on. Actually, there's some stuff going on. You can go to the park. You can go to the grocery store. You can go to Costco. You can go to Home Depot. But yeah, that's about it. You can go on hikes, though. You can walk the dogs. Been doing a lot of a lot of family dog walks going on. That's what's been happening a lot. A lot of family dog walks. And it's nice. I got to say, it's kind of nice. My wife is currently not working. She's all frisky. She's all randy. And I kind of like that. You know, it's just an unexpected benefit of being in quarantine for the coronavirus. More sex. I'm down. I got a really great guest. Really great guest. This is Patrick from For An Autopsy. He is awesome. Great dude. I met this guy. When did I meet him? I want to say I met him about 4 years ago. And he was opening for Trivium at the time. Trivium came through and they played the Regency Ballroom. And they killed it as always. But I had been hearing about this For An Autopsy band for quite a while. They had a buzz. They were the hot band. They were a hot band and they had a buzz on them. So, unfortunately, I got there too late. And I only caught like the very last bit of their last song. I live about almost an hour and a half, about an hour and 20 minutes from San Francisco. So sometimes it just takes 100 fucking years sometimes it just takes way too goddamn long to get out to San Francisco. So but I ended up talking to the guys, mainly this guy, Patrick. He was the first guy that I met in the band, and we ended up just rapping and shooting the shit, and he was just a super cool dude. And then we didn't talk to each other for like 2 years or something. Probably was about 2 years, but in that 2 years, I was listening to the band a lot, and I think I mentioned him on Instagram a few times, and we started kind of chatting on Instagram message, and which is where I talk to a lot of people now. A lot of people, I don't even text them. I don't even have their phone number. I just talk to them on Instagram message, DMs. But and we just kind of had like a cool. He kind of threw some new bands at me, and yeah, really cool guy. We had a great conversation, which I'm about to get into here. The today's No Fucking Regrets is sponsored by Blackened Whiskey. Head over to www.blackenedwhiskey.com. Check out the whiskey that Metallica is making. It is a very, very fine whiskey. I've had it myself. We went and caught Metallica in Milwaukee on back in 2018, and they had just dropped this, and they had a dressing room. Us and the Foo Fighters were there randomly. Foo Fighters were playing there the next night, and so it was us and the Foo Fighters hanging out in this dressing room in the Metallica's thing, and I was rapping with Dave Grohl, and we took a shot. Did a shot of the whiskey. They also had their other beer there, which I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a Pilsner or something. But the thing that's interesting to me about this whiskey is that it is forged by sound. That is the kind of the hook that makes their whiskeys different than all of the other whiskeys. Each batch of blackened has a unique playlist that was used to sonically enhance the whiskey during finishing. As the well-aged whiskey rests in the finishing barrels, the music is played to the barrel, causing the whiskey inside to move and interact with the wood. The movement of the whiskey and the amount of interaction depends on the song being played, so the variation of the music creates a slight nuance from one batch to the next. Throughout this process, Dave, who is the head guy at the whiskey maker, tests the whiskey to determine the optimal color and flavor profile for each batch. And each of the guys has picked out a playlist. In fact, they've got batch 81 is by all four members. And then I think each of them, batch 82, yes, this is the Hetfield one. Then they've got a Lars one. Then they've got a Kirk Hammett batch and a Rob Trujillo batch. So, yeah. And then you can click onto the Spotify or Apple to listen to that particular playlist that made that particular batch of whiskey. Anyway, Blackened Whiskey, the Metallica brand of whiskey. Again, www.blackandwhiskey.com. Head over there and check it out and enjoy some fine whiskey. Anyway, let me get back here to my interview with Patrick from For An Autopsy. I want to play a couple other songs right here. These are some of my favorite songs by these dudes. I tell you what, this is one of my favorite songs off their new record right here. This is called Your Pain Is Mine. Oh, wait. Oh, am I not? I'm not connected. What the heck, man? I'm not connected. How did that happen, dude? Yes. I got to connect my phone to the podcaster here. That's what I use, this thing called a Podcaster Pro. It's actually pretty sick, man. Here we go. Where is it? Come on. What's going on? It's not connecting. There we go. Here we go. The singer Joe sounds killer on this. Your pain is so heavy. Fuck. That is fucking heavy. Jesus. Right here, check this out. Listen to this riff. Opening riff of their new album, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. Ooh! Shit! Motherfucker! So fucking heavy. That's some heavy shit. Gojira, eat your heart out. I love that. Yow! That is a great fucking riff, man. Opening track on the new album, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. That shit's fucking awesome. Here we go. Here is Absolute Hope, Absolute Hell. One of their biggest songs on Spotify. Title track to their first album? Second album. Tell you what, Joe Bad has got a heavy fucking voice, man. His voice is beastly. Beastly. But this right here, this might be my favorite song. This The fucking hook in this intro is... I want to steal this intro so bad. I'm going to rip this fucking intro off for a Machine Head song. I can't. Oh, fucking lyric. This city is a fucking prison. I know what he means, man. Oh, fucking listen to that. Fucking devastation right there. Fucking sick. So good. There we get to the when you cut off his head, true go back again. When you cut off her head, fucking to roll back. Fucking ripping. Well, anyway, Patrick is the guitar player and super nice guy. So let's get into the interview with Patrick Sheridan from Fit for an Autopsy right now. Let's start with your weight. Let's start with your weight. You used to weigh 400 fucking pounds. Dude, that's crazy.
396 pounds. Let's call it what it is.
You're like, I was 4 pounds shy, motherfucker.
4 pounds shy of two average American human beings. Yeah. I was fucking fat, man. That's how I earned the nickname Fat Pat. You know what I mean? That's it. Your name rhymes with it and you are it. You're naturally going to be called it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, so, were you pretty athletic? Like, were you doing sports as a kid, or did it just?
No. Yeah. I like to skateboard and ride bikes and stuff like that, but I was never like a jock or into like that kind of stuff. I liked some things sports related, and I tried them. It's just it was never my bag.
Yeah.
You know, it never stuck. And in an early age, I discovered the guitar and I discovered music and skateboarding, and then that whole thing. And I got sucked into playing in punk rock bands, and then that was it, because it's easy. I don't want to say it's easy to be in a punk rock band, but if you can learn how to play 3 or 4 chords and play them fast, you can be in a band.
Yeah.
And that was it. So sports and stuff was never a thing. So the relatable thing was I got hurt when I was a kid. I broke my leg really, really bad. I had to have this crazy knee replacement surgery because I did like riding dirt bikes. And we were riding dirt bikes, and I fell off my dirt bike and broke my knee. Ooh. And then I got repaired, and I gained
a long heel. That's a long heel too, right?
Long heel. Meniscus replacement, kneecap replacement, like the whole 9.
Ugh.
So that was me on my back for 6 months, and I put on like 100 pounds, and then it was just the sky's the limit at that point. I depressed and didn't care, and I got real fat, and that was it. So I spent the past 2.5 years really trying to like burn the weight. And, people are really, believe it or not, I didn't believe this for a long time, probably part of the reason that I hated everything, but people are actually inherently good a lot. And the support that I've gotten over the weight loss thing has been tremendous. And even people who are struggling with the same thing and like hitting me up and saying, how did you do this? And, what was the trick? And, my obvious answer is like, stop using pizza for bread. You know what I mean? Like, but also like knowing that people are struggling with the same things and being able to help people has really helped me along too. And I think it's changed me a lot in the past few years. So
that's awesome. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I follow you on Instagram, and I see you've been posting a lot, especially now that we're all quarantined. You're working out a lot, and you're posting a lot of pictures of working out. And dude, you look it's crazy. Like it's been a huge transformation for you. Like even from when I met you, I think I met you 3 or 4 years ago on the Trivium thing. Like we were in San Francisco or something. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we played that show, and I met you out back by the bus.
Yes. Yeah, we were just hanging out for a bit. But even from that, you've lost quite a bit of weight, right?
I would say probably about 40 or 50 pounds
Yeah.
since then. But I think
which doesn't seem like a lot. What doesn't seem like a lot when you've already lost 400 from 400, right? Like it's only 40 or 50. Like 40 or 50 with a lot of pounds. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it in real time, the easiest weight for me to lose was like probably the first like 50 or 60 pounds because my body was just like, yes, you know what I mean? Like this is good. So I draw. All right, this is where it gets nuts when I start talking about the numbers. So I was a size 52 jeans. Think about that.
Yeah, it's fucking
right.
Yeah,
you're what?
big.
Maybe like a 30?
I'm a 34. I'm a 34 or 32.
30,
depends
34.
on the pants. Yeah.
Yeah, you're 34. So add almost 20 sizes to that.
Yeah.
That's how much bigger I was, right? So then I went from a 52 to a 46, and then it was like the brakes got hit. And then I had to be like, and I did all that just through diet. I cut out all sugar. I cut my carbs back, really paid attention to what I was eating, started reading labels, less preservatives, more natural food. And that's how I lost the first, 50 to 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I had to start pushing myself. And that's when it got weird because I didn't realize that I would actually love working out. And I also follow you on Instagram, and I noticed you started working out, and you may be able to agree or confirm the fact that, a good workout in the evening makes you wake up fresher. It makes you feel different. It makes you feel like you're doing good things for yourself. And it really made me be like, wow, I actually like this. Now that I'm quarantined, I'm freaking out because I can't go to the gym every day.
I know, right?
So I'm like strapping weights on my back and literally walking around my neighborhood.
I mean, totally. I carry my tire around my neighborhood. I just go to the middle of the street and carry a big ass my kid's green tire. And I just do that. I've got a bunch of shit that I do in the front. That's it. You got to do it. I mean, it's funny because I've always worked out, and I was overweight like you, like pretty much my whole life. I was never 400 pounds, but I was overweight my whole life, and I've struggled with it. I also was not. I was crazy about jujitsu, but I was never really into traditional American sports. So I went to, from the time I was in 4th grade to 7th grade, I was nuts. 3rd grade to 7th grade, I was nuts about jujitsu. But then,
awesome.
but it wasn't really like a football or a baseball or a, whatever. And
but I don't think jujitsu is a sport. It's a discipline. It's different.
Yeah.
That's a very different dedication than not that being a baseball or football player is any different. You have to work, but it's just a different lifestyle. You know what I mean? I understand how the disassociation between the two happens. Go ahead.
And the sparring, you'd spar. We sparred at the night of every class. We did we did a warm up, and then we did, practice things, and then we sparred with somebody. And, and then same thing, I discovered guitar and stuff, and I discovered my way of at least initially losing weight early on was I discovered meth. Meth was wildly popular here in the Bay Area. It was kind of it was cheaper than coke,
especially in the thrash metal scene.
Oh my god, forget it. That's all. I mean, just everybody, Motorhead, and everybody was just let's do speed, and it was cheaper than coke. It lasted 5 times longer than coke. So in my mind, it was like a bargain. And so I lost a ton of weight, and then just my body was just kind of decimated. I had kind of just made too much weight too fast. I wasn't working out. I wasn't in good shape. And then I just kind of, so somewhere along the way there, I figured out hey, you gotta work out. And just to kind of bring it around to your point, I kind of did my own workouts for a long time and very physical, when you're on the road, especially you're working out a lot, the shows, very physical show for you guys. It's a very physical show for us. And, but I just couldn't really gain. And so I started going back in June of last year, I started going to an actual weight training gym, like a bodybuilding gym, which I used to not laugh at, but my body has never my wife could work out for 3 weeks straight and be bigger than me. You know what I mean? My muscle tone just doesn't it just doesn't no matter how much work. And it really has been a giant transformation. And
sure,
it changed the way I ate. They gave me a whole new way of eating it. You kind of talking about a rice cake with a no salt rice cake with peanut butter. I'm on a similar thing, and it really has, dude. It's really changed my life.
And you want to know what's crazy about those gyms? When you go to the gym and you're at like a real bodybuilding gym, right? Like, I was a fat guy in the gym when I first started going to the gym. I didn't have any muscle tone. When I first started going to the gym, I was like 40% body fat, like 38, like really bad, super unhealthy. Like how I didn't have a heart attack, I have no idea, And the guys and gals that are the most supportive are the most fucking fit. It's the biggest dude in the room that comes up to me and watches me fail and says, hey man, like failure is a road to being able to do it next week. Like, don't feel bad. And like, I never realized how supportive those folks really could be. And, you look at people like that and you think, oh, they're vain and, whatever. But I mean, did the work and the dedication that these people put in, it's like, that's how Steve Vai became Steve Vai. He locked himself in a room with a guitar for 1,000,000 years and he just became a wizard. And that's how come this guy looks like Adonis. You know what I mean? And like, that's changed my view on things too, with people and how I look at people and stuff. Like growing up in, New Jersey in a pretty rough hardcore scene. That's where I started, my roots come from that. And it definitely can skew your vision on the way that you look at people.
Yeah.
So this has been like this whole trip that I've been on like the past few years about, basically being here past 50 years old for my son and my wife has really transformed like my mental and, my outlook, my mental outlook and like how I perceive other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
It is. But I fully agree with the biggest, burliest dude in the gym is usually the most positive guy that like comes up like, come on, you can do it. And like he's got legs like a fucking tree trunk and he can deadlift 700 pounds. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. He's squatting a Dotson behind the place. And I'm like struggling with these like 85-pound like dumbbells. He's like, you can do it, man.
Yeah. Come on. And it is.
I failed at that once too,
It is right. It really did. Cause I was, I'll be straight. I was totally intimidated the first time I went in there and I was just like, oh my God, like all these fucking people, they're going to look at me like, well, get out of here, dude. And it wasn't, and maybe there was that point. There was dudes like that at the gym that I've been to at other gyms. There was those type of dudes, but like,
of course,
but when you kind of go to like this specific thing where it really is like just about, especially going to a weight training gym like that, where it really is just about your own progress, your own gains, your own things like that. Yep. But done in a kind of team environment. It was cool. It was really cool, man. I fully know what you're saying.
It's interesting. Like, I know we follow each other on the internet, so I do spend a lot of time like checking out your stuff. And I noticed that, you're not afraid to kind of like put your feelings out there and say how you feel, which I agree with in a major way, especially in today's climate, like being able to speak your mind, whether I agree with somebody or not. One of the most important things is being able to put yourself out there in a way where, you're getting your point across and doing positive things. You know what I mean? Because the internet's a cesspool. But we live in super modern times right now where like everybody's starting to become more aware of other people's feelings and everybody's starting to like develop this sense of awareness for other people. But it's still okay to pick on fat people on the television. Right. So it's this thing that happens to me when I see this stuff. So like I think about going to the gym and like I heard this saying once, like picking on a fat person at the gym is the same as picking on a heroin addict at a methadone clinic. And it really, really stuck with me. So if I can do anything through this whole journey is number one, to help people who were stuck like I was, which I'm sure you can understand because you said you were overweight. But also to like educate people like, hey man, like, you may say you're modern and you're progressive and you think about this stuff, but like, it's still okay to make fat jokes. It's still okay to do all that stuff. Like, and I think a joke is perfectly fine, but the line is there. You know what I mean? So people need to be aware that that kind of stuff in a gym or that kind of like, it can literally ruin a person's journey, you know? So I try to keep that in my head all the time and like try to remind people of that because every day I look in the mirror for a split second, I still see that same 390-pound dude because I have body dysmorphia and it would just take one thing to set me back into that mindset again. You know what I mean? So it's tough. And it's,
how much
it's
do you
cool
weigh now? How much do you weigh now?
235.
235. Dude, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Right. I
That's
went down to
160 pounds?
160. I went down to 209. Right.
Uh-huh.
And at 209 pounds, my wife put her arms around me one day and she was like, all right, this is enough. she's like, you're going to be borrowing my pants soon. She's like, you need to start like, she's a chubby chaser, dude. She married me when I was 400 pounds.
Oh my God. She's like, what are you doing?
she's going to leave me for an old version.
She's like, I want some baby got back there.
So, I realized like, and people were saying like, are you okay? Like, are you healthy? Like Tim, my guitar player's mom, who's an amazing human. Like, she's like, are you okay? Like you look really skinny. And I was like, yeah, I'm working towards this thing, but it made me realize like, maybe my frame and the way I look is supposed to be bigger, just healthier, bigger.
Yeah. So you probably had to change now that you're actually working out and doing weights more, you probably had to change your diet even again, right?
Okay. The hardest thing in the world is standing on the scale and watching the numbers climb.
Yeah.
Right.
Because,
I want to be
right, dude.
Yeah.
I just came back from tour, like where I was working out, I was crushing it. I'm doing 3.5 hour shows. I lost all this weight. I could feel my hate handles just skinnier. And I stepped on the scale because we're on tour, you don't got a scale. I got home expecting like, oh my God, I lost so much weight. I weighed exactly the same weight. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, no.
Right,
like,
but you probably look different. Like that's the thing now. Like my trainer that I'm working with now, I go to this gym called Georgia Fitness. I train with this guy named RJ. The whole team there's sick, but he's got a rule like you only step on the scale when it's time to step on the scale. You know what I mean? He's like, don't worry about it day to day. He's like, once a month, we'll get you on a scale and then we'll do your body fat. So when I came home from the last tour, this thing that happens when you're on tour, you walk everywhere. The bus park, you get off the bus and you want to see everything and go get food and go have coffee and go to stores. You're in Germany, you walk like, 15 miles a day. You don't even realize you're doing it.
Totally.
Right? And you fully burn a ton of fat doing that because that's the best way to, moderate, continuous exercise is the best way to burn fat.
Yeah.
I came home from this last European tour. I weighed literally 3 pounds less, but I was 2% down in body fat.
That's killer.
I went from 23% body fat to 21% body fat. And it just reminded me, hey, slow and steady, do the walking, do all the things. But like that scale is dangerous and those calories are scary, like, because now I want to grow. I want muscle. I want to look like healthy and athletic. You know what I mean? But that only happens by packing on the pounds. What I mean?
I'm eating. So this is what they changed my diet to. So before, this is my old diet. I'll tell you my old diet. My old diet was wake up, have a cup of coffee with cream and sugar, and not have any breakfast for like 3 or 4 hours. So I'm just basically
intermittent fasting is incredible.
Well, it's not. Yeah. No, it was just coffee. I would just have coffee.
Also delicious.
Yeah, and then I'd have whatever. And I tried to eat. I eat like fairly organic, and I try and eat healthier meats if I can and stuff. But just not really. I'd have 2 to 3 meals a day, and then I'd get whatever. Sometimes I'd eat. If I drank, I'd eat really late. But so they changed that, and they're like, okay, so the first thing you got to do now is eat breakfast, like no, before the coffee. And I was like, before coffee, like I hate coffee after I eat food. Like it's disgusting to me. And so I was like, oh, dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Like, making this gigantic thing in my head because here's 22 years of habit, because I started drinking coffee pretty late in my life. I started when I was 25. So, it wasn't that ingrained. And so I started doing it. And he's like, I need you to eat 6 times a day. And you're going to eat 30 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat. And so that'll be like 1 egg with 6 egg whites and a bunch of vegetables and 2 pieces of toast. And I'm like, I start making this shit. I'm like, this is fucking an enormous meal. It's just so much food. I'm like, I'm not like, are you fucking crazy? Like 6 times a day? I can't eat this. He's like, just stick with it. They had like a whole food thing with like do these classes.
Shovel it in.
Yeah. He's like, you're working out super hard. Like you need this extra energy. It's very low fat. So, So I start doing it, and I kind of like, it took, like all habits take about a month to break, but so it took me about a month, and then after that month, I quit coffee. I quit drinking caffeine. I completely quit caffeine. So I actually have decaf coffee now, but that's all I have. And
apparently you're Jesus Christ.
I could never do that, dude. I was the biggest bitch about it too. Like it took so long for me to I phased it out. First it was like 3/4 real coffee, 1/4 decaffeinated. Then it was like half and half, and then it was like a quarter, 3/4 decaf, and then finally the day that I quit it, and this is 3 weeks later, mind you, I just had the fucking ragingest headache. I was snapping at everybody, and I was like, fucking ah. And I was like, okay, the fact that it has this much power over me just annoys the shit out of me. Like I don't want it, so I'm glad that I'm able to get through it. And now I'm doing it. And now I eat I eat so much food, but I'm losing weight and I'm gaining muscle, and it makes no sense. It doesn't compute. Doesn't compute at all. But it I would imagine you're doing something similar, right?
Yeah, well, I went from a 1,500 calorie a day deficit for 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
So that was my deficit with working out and playing shows on top of it. So there was a point, there's some pictures of me out there. I'm like, good Lord, I look like a skeleton. You know what I mean? I'm pretty thin. And it only lasted about 6 or 7 months before I was like, okay, I got to get on the train. But now I've always done intermittent fasting, and I very much tell everyone, this is the key for me, for my weight loss, and I think for gut health for me, being able to digest properly and having the right amount of good and bad food. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds weird, but there is a certain amount of bad food that you have to eat to keep that caloric amount up. You know what I mean? I mean, bodybuilders eat 30 turkeys a day. Those dudes get it. You know what I mean? So there's a good balance there. So now I wait a couple of hours before I eat, and then I have my cup of coffee because I do happen to love coffee. And then, and for breakfast, 6 egg whites, 2 regular eggs, some gluten-free, single piece of gluten-free toast.
Yep. And,
some kind of, whatever. And then for lunch, it's I do a 30-30-40. Okay. So it's a net carb, and then a small amount of white rice, and then a vegetable that are carby. So maybe I'll do a sweet potato, and then some white rice, and then a big portion of protein.
Yeah.
And then I do 2 meals like that. And then for dinner, I cut the sugar, I cut the carbs. I do a high fiber, high protein meal. And then I work out. And then after workout, I have a protein shake.
Okay.
I work out in the evening. The thing is here's a pretty interesting little trick. When you go to the gym later in the evening, you will exhaust your energy all day long doing all the things that we do, running after the kids, dealing with the house, cooking dinner, going to the studio, playing guitar, taking the phone calls, all the normal things that we do all day long, right? And then if you work out a little later in the evening, you spike your body. And when you go to bed, your muscles are healing while you're sleeping. So your body is burning calories in your sleep. You're literally burning all day long on some level. And it's this trick I learned after reading a couple of different bodybuilder programs. When those guys get ready, and gals get ready to go in to do their competitions, they starve their bodies, hard cardio. The things they do to lean out are insane. But one thing they do is try to burn calories as long as they can to lean, right? Mm-hmm. And some of that stuff is crazy. So that's why I work out later in the evening, so I can keep my body burning calories all day, all night. So I'm not wasting 8 hours of sleep. So it's a really weird way to look at it. And whether it works or not, you got me. Yeah. But I'm showing progress, and it makes me happy to do it that way.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just read something about that too. I actually did read something because I tend to work out in the morning. So I drop my kids off at school, and then back when school was in, but I drop it off, and then I'd go straight to the gym, 8:30 class. It's a 2-hour class, or the whole routine or whatever. But then But then I was just reading that it's better to do it in the later you can do it, the better. So if you could do it in the afternoon, great. If you can do it later, better. And I didn't have an explanation why. Just that was just kind of the thing that popped across my, I don't even know what it was. Probably my Instagram feed. But
yeah, I mean, dude, who knew that this conversation was going to take this kind of a turn? Like bodybuilding with Pat and Rob. Like, who the hell knew? You know what I mean? Like, whatever. It's just another form of suffrage. You know, but
I get like such a high off of it, man. Like that's what I worked out right before I came here or earlier this morning, and I get such a fucking high. It makes me feel good. Today was leg day. I was not going to miss leg day because I get this weird fucking high off of it. You know, like it's not like I'm imagining it. Like I do get some high off of specifically leg day. You know,
leg
just
day. Well, leg day is it's those big long muscles, man. You have to burn so much to exercise those muscles. Like, you know, leg day that's a hard day. That's why everybody skips it. You know what I mean? Because it's a tough day. But yeah. Well, yeah, I just, it works. It all works. And I think it put me in a better place, and it makes me happy to be doing something positive. And it sounds like you get the same thing out of it. You know what I mean? And that's cool. I like that.
Are you working out? You're working out at home now, or do you have weights at home? Yeah, you got like a weight.
I do.
Something.
Yeah, I have like a dumbbell bench and some kettlebells and some dumbbells. I have like slam balls, so I can do like cardio workouts with that, and just all the typicals.
So all the gyms in Georgia are closed?
Closed. Everything's closed.
Are you guys locked down? Like we're in California,
we're not locked down. It's kind of like a voluntary lockdown. Like they don't want you gathering. They don't want you doing certain things. Like I'm in the Atlanta metro area. So like for us, it's a little more serious where we live. But, people are staying home. There's a lot less people on the street. Like I try to get out in the car like once a day and do my little self-quarantine drive and maybe like get a cup of coffee from the local Starbucks and just take a minute to be outside, but that's as outside as I get anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not, if I go to the store to get food for the family, like that's it. Like there's no hanging out for me anymore. So it's home time, you know?
Is there more sex happening with the quarantine or less sex happening with the quarantine?
Luckily, my wife is awesome and my sex life is pretty cool. So I would say it's about the same.
Okay, that's good.
I have a very happy home life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so my wife is awesome.
I would say I actually have more now, like, which I'm I'm like, quarantine's not so bad. Like it's, there's pluses to it.
There's positives and everything, man. You know what I mean?
She's unemployed and I'm unemployed, but fuck, we're having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it this way: as long as I'm not making babies, things are going to be fine. But if babies start coming, then the financial ruin happens. You know what I mean? Like, I always say it all the time. Like, thank God for my wife. She's like my biggest fan and my biggest ass kicker, and like the best thing. So I'm pretty lucky. But
well, how would babies come though? Like, are you guys are you using the pull-out method? Are you using condoms?
No, I mean we're a birth control family.
Okay.
We
she takes birth control.
We like she does. And that's by her choice. That's what she wants to do.
Yeah.
It helps her with her. She has some. When she was not on the birth control, she had some pretty massive cramping and things during lady time, and it helps her. It helps her deal with her issues, and she's happy doing it. And if she decided she didn't want to, then we would figure it out from there. I would never ever tell her that she has to or not have to do anything with her body. But for right now, you're
busting inside.
Control family.
You're busting inside then. Yeah.
Indeed I am.
Good for you. Good for you. It's been a long time since I did that.
I mean, you know what?
I forgot what that's like, Pat.
Rob, it's dealer's choice, dude. The world is mine. Like she's pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's cool. Well, that's good that, you guys are burning the candle more. I like hearing that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if babies come, that's when, right now we're stable enough in the condition that we're in right now. And if I was working, like I'm supposed to be, another baby might not be the worst thing in the world, but right now it would fully ruin it.
Yeah. I mean,
so with the money that goes into having a baby,
yeah, it's expensive. But you find I mean, you got a kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that like you just kind of you find a way. Like you just do what you've got to do. Like I remember before I had kids, it seemed like, I mean, I just felt like it was the craziest thing to do. Like, how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to afford this? And then just once you you commit to it, you're going to have kids, and then you have kids, and it's almost like your life is so crazy because you have a young kid anyway that like you have to find a way to do it, and you just do. You just find a way to do it. Like you make money, you find money, you do whatever has to happen to make it work, and somehow it works. But like that parental,
the gene,
it does kick in, man.
There's a gene inside of our bodies as parents that if you're meant to be a good parent, I'm going to take you to a place that only parents know, right? It's only a place that being a parent, if you're a man or a woman or whatever, and you don't have kids, you cannot understand this. But when you are in the delivery room with your prospective partner and they put that baby in your hands, you go, what the fuck was I thinking? It's like this thing that happens, like how the fuck I can't even get out of bed on time to be at practice on time. How the fuck am I going to do this? And then something happens and it just takes over. You know what I mean? And for me, the protection side came out and the affection side came out, and there was the whole new emotion that I never knew I had,
Yeah.
And it just happens, and you're right on that idea of like things just happening, like it just, you do it or you're a deadbeat piece of shit and you don't, you know what I mean? And I don't think there's any in between, you know what I mean? You're either doing it or you're not doing it,
Yeah.
And, people find, you find a way, and it always works. But, now is bad because there's no work and there's no money coming in. We're all at this weird standstill and it's affecting us all in a crazy way. So if my wife came to me and told me I was pregnant, you would immediately see a Reverb store full of guitars and equipment go up on the internet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got to say, I felt, I followed you guys and, saw everything that was happening. And, I knew you guys were coming to town and I was stoked because I was actually going to be in town. And, and then just, I knew what was happening with, we had to cancel our whole tour, but we hadn't committed to, luckily enough, we were far enough out that, we had reached that point where like, okay, got to put down payments on the buses, got to put down payments on the trucks, got to put down payment, got to advance all the merch, got to we had to, it was that moment, like either we're doing this. And at that point we had 14 shows that had canceled, due to public gathering ordinances and, just countries shutting down. Right. And I was like, we got it. Like my agent's just like, well, let's just wait another week and see how it's going. I'm like, half the fucking tour is gone. Like there's nothing, we can't afford this, like we're not.
I get that. Yeah. I get you're going to lose your ass, but I'm going to lose my ass even more than you, dude. So
yeah, but but you guys were like,
we were.
I mean, were you on tour? Your tour just started. Well,
here's how it went down. So I flew to New Jersey because I live in Georgia, but the band is located in the Northeast, and the studio that Will owns is in Jersey. And that's where we rehearse, right? Yeah. So I fly up, we get situated. The merch order was in. I paid for half the merch order up front just because we had money from Europe, and I was like, you know what? Let's just make this easy. Here's some cash or whatever. So we paid for half of a $14,000 merch order. The transportation showed up with the trailer packed with merch. We loaded up, drove an hour and 45 minutes to Philly, and halfway through the day, the tour manager from The Art Is Murder and Andy, who's their guitar player / guy who runs the band, manages the band, pulls me aside and says, things aren't looking so great. It tells me that, all of California was pretty much canceled. Seattle was canceled. And then we found out Virginia got put on a state of emergency, specifically Richmond, and North Carolina was waiting to find out what they were going to do. And that means at that point, we were about 8 shows canceled. And then the next day was a day off. And then we were in Florida. So we were just about to break into that 10-day mark where you're like, okay, you know, I know. I don't know.
You haven't even played your first show yet.
The show started, this band Extinction AD was on when I was getting this news, right? I wanted to see their set. Instead, I was sitting in a restaurant with Andy, staring at each other, not saying anything because we didn't know what the fuck we were going to do.
Right.
You know, and you know how much money goes into the beginning of a tour.
Oh my God.
Plus think about the fact that Die Hard is Murder is from Australia.
Dude.
So they have $20,000 in flights just to start.
Right.
Right. Not to mention all the other they have invested.
Gear,
so we are
rental,
direct. Yeah. Gear, rental, the whole nine. And I mean, we have a sound guy, we have a merch guy, we have, you know, all the other bills we have to pay. I can't not pay these people like I have to do. We have a board. Our board is rented to Snake. I mean, everything. You know the deal. You know what goes in.
It's insane.
So by the end of that,
the startup cost for a tour, a lot of people don't understand this, and I've talked about this a few times on the podcast. You know, just how, you know, the beginning of a tour, you got to basically spend a shit ton of money, and then you don't see a whole lot of money coming in until like a week into the tour.
Yeah,
that's when
you play 5-6 dates to cover your startup fees.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So you're
and people have no. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say. So go back to being in. You're sitting in a diner in Philadelphia or whatever, staring at each other.
Sitting in a restaurant in Philadelphia, like trying to figure out what we're gonna do. And you know, basically, I was told, okay, like we're gonna go back and we're gonna play this show. We're gonna finish out the night, and we'll make decisions as the night goes on. So just as I'm walking out on stage, just as trying to remember who, Aversion's Crown, also an Australian band, is walking out on stage, I get the word that tour is going to be canceled through a text message. Just like I TM my band, so all of the TMs are in a text message, and I get the message, hey, you know, unfortunately, tour is going to be canceled. There's too much loss about to happen. Like, don't say anything just yet. We're going to make an announcement at the end of the night, and then we can all hit the internet. So I played a show knowing that this was it. So we went full out. I was like, fuck it. I'm only it's just going to be the best show of the tour because it's the only show of the tour, you know what I mean? And we came out and we smashed, and Die Hard is Murder smashed, and we played a great show. But then, like, you know, I'm talking to Andy, who is the kind of guy that has it together all the time, and I could just see, like, everybody was in this like zombie, like not knowing what to say kind of situation. You know, that was a really surreal moment on how vulnerable we are as people to whatever's going on in the world. You know what I mean? When you're not still quote unquote 9 to 5 can be stripped out from under you, and you just can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know? So we got really lucky because Will and I are super proactive when it comes to the way that we do things in the background. And I hit up Will and I'm like, yo, man, we got a pretty sizable amount of merch here. What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to pay these bills? And he's like, we're putting it all online.
Fuck yeah.
And we got lucky and we hit online and we made the post, and our fans responded, and, you know, our friends responded, and people did a lot, and we got lucky enough to be able to like get back on our feet.
That's rad.
And
that's awesome.
So we didn't make any money. We lost the not the initial, but the end result of a tour, you know, but we were able to, it's just like right now, it's like it never happened.
Yeah.
You know,
you broke even.
We broke even, and not so many bands are that lucky. And
I heard Die Hard is Murder. Shout out to Die Hard is Murder too, by the way. Cool band.
Very much so. Yeah. Cool band. Incredible band. And some of my best friends, like amazing people.
I've never met them. I've just kind of, you know, listened to them from afar, and I know that they had it pretty rough. Like, you know, I saw their, I got to say, I was really impressed by their post that they put up about just everything. And like, they were just straight up about it. Like, dudes, we fucking lost our ass doing this. You know, like, we're not even going to try and mince fucking words here. You know, like whatever you can do, you know, and I was like, that's fucking awesome. You know, like, that's rad.
It's tough, man. It's tough when you invest so much of yourself. And the thing is like, think about this too. That tour had a band from Iceland.
Oh,
that band Unmizur, band from Iceland, 2 bands from Australia, and then technically 3 bands from the States. But
there's 7 bands on that tour.
Well, no, because one of the bands was in Europe while the tour started, so they were picking up a little later. So,
gotcha.
The opening band, Extinction AD, which is an incredible thrash metal band from the New York area, they were doing like 7 or 8 dates, and then when
people were swapping in and swapping out, gotcha.
Right,
okay.
And then it just to kind of fill the time. So it was a 5-band package, but I mean that the opening band that I believe it's Unmizur or that's how you say it. They're from Iceland. They're an incredible band, but I mean they were the opener. And you know how hard it is being an opener, right, and the money you make and how much you have to hustle.
Totally.
Think about the whole there. And they flew here from Iceland and set up the whole tour. So they're losing all that. And then a Virgin Crown.
And only did the one show.
One show. And Philadelphia was incredible. Yeah. They were incredible. And everybody bought merch and everybody supported everybody. And the feeling was great. You know, Philly can be a pretty rough town, but that night, like, Philly was amazing. And I want to, really put it out there that, everybody on the tour is happy that we played Philly for that show because Philly treated us amazing and spent money, and like almost 500 kids showed up, and, in the middle of a crisis, that's a big deal. So,
yeah.
That's a positive from that for sure. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing is crazy. Nobody, I don't know how it's affecting you and your band. I know you're losing money like everybody else, but like mentally, I'm in this place where it's like, man, it's super vulnerable. We're vulnerable. We're really, and people don't appreciate how lucky we've been to never have had to deal with something like this globally before. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Download Fest got closed down. They're not doing download. That's like 100,000 people.
That's a shocker.
Think about the revenue involved in that.
I mean, I knew that was coming, but I was like, just, when the news hit, I was like, wow. Glastonbury went, South by Southwest, and then South by Southwest didn't even get any $360 million. The insurance wouldn't cover it. It was force majeure, act of God.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, that's rough, man. It's brutal.
Yeah, what a nightmare, dude. The whole industry is on its ass, along with the whole every industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all in the same exact place, and we're going to come through. Things are going to get better. Things are going to grow. We're lucky to be in the position we're in because the people who support our band have really supported us through this whole thing. So we're very lucky, but it could change at any moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and we were talking about how, because everything that I've heard about the coronavirus is that, we're all hoping that it's going to end in a couple of weeks, right? Like in 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to, that's the hope. And that's what we've heard quite a few times from, people, but everything that and for me, like, I'm the type of dude, like, I need to just devour information on this, like, constantly. Like, it really is, like, the more if I start burying my head in the sand, that's when I start going crazy. Like, that's when I can't hold it together. The more I can try and understand it and just read as many different things I can about it, the more it helps me. My wife is the opposite. Sure. My wife is the opposite. She's like, just tell me it's going to be okay. Like, I can't read about any of this stuff anymore. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. But everything I'm reading is that it's going to go on for at least 18 to 24 months. And that the sooner that we can start wrapping our heads around that, all pandemics that have come, the last pandemic, the major pandemic was the Spanish flu that started in Kansas. It was 2 years. It lasted 2 years, and it kind of came in waves. That's everything I keep on hearing. It's going to come in waves. We're going to hunker down, and then we're going to have to be, shelter in place, and especially like California is all shelter in place, the whole state, and then it's going to be okay for a minute, and we're going to be able to go out and kind of be back to some level of normality, but not completely. And then we're going to have to go back and hunker down again. Like it's going to come back, because summer's going to come and it will kind of clear up a little bit, but it's going to be winter down in South America. It's going to be winter down in Australia, and it's going to kick back up all down there and spread. And so, the thing that I have just been trying to do is to just try and accept that as much as I can. And I don't want to accept that. I don't want to accept that it's going to be 2 fucking years, because that's brutal. I mean, not getting money, not earning money, not going on tour is fucking, it's hard to fucking process that, And I was watching this thing yesterday, and there was this guy, and they had an interview with the survivor of the Spanish flu, guy who's survived the Spanish flu in 1918. And one of the things that he talked about near the end was that even after the pandemic went away, people were so freaked out, after 2 years of in and out and, in shelter, not shelter, social distancing, not going, no public gatherings, all fucking masks everywhere. Cause they were doing the same shit, like same things, masks, no public gatherings, social distancing, that he was like, it was at least another 2 years before people started going out again. So think
people
about what
have PTSD from that shit, dude.
Think
you
about
know what I mean?
And think about what that means for the touring industry.
You want to know what I think, though? I think a big problem right now is information. So when we were growing up, the internet wasn't a thing, right? I mean, for shit's sake, we had tape trades where you were mailing
right.
demo tapes back and forth to each other, and like that's how I was discovering bands by getting. I'd meet some merch guy somewhere and we would exchange addresses, and he would send me, tapes from, LA, and I would send him tapes from New York. And we didn't, that's just how it works.
Best.
You know what I mean?
It was the best.
Yeah, it was great. It was. And I think, that would be an awesome hobby for somebody to start, but I digress. So,
just to say something though about what you're talking about back in the Spanish flu days, when people went off to World War I, sometimes they didn't hear from people for like a year or two. Like they'd sent the fucking mail supplies would get cut off. This is snail mail. You'd have to write a letter, send it from fucking, England or Germany or wherever the fuck the world was at war. Because it was during the World War. It was during World War I when the Spanish flu hit. Also, And can you imagine? Like, we can text, we can communicate, we can call, we can email at any time, find out what anybody's doing, not knowing what somebody's doing for 2 fucking years. Goodbye, honey. I'm going to go off and fight the war. I'll see you when I come back. And then not talking to him for 2 years.
My wife gets mad at me if I don't answer her text within 20 minutes.
Right.
Let alone 2 years. Right. But so information is this thing, right? It's great. Information is great until wrong people are putting the wrong information in the wrong places.
Yeah.
It used to be the people that really wanted and needed and could handle the information would seek it out, right?
Yeah.
Now, every, Tom, Dick, and Linda are getting all of this insane amount of information. Some of it's real, some of it's fake, some of it's the most extreme, some of it's mild. And it's such a, sensory overload that people aren't capable of sorting through things, and they just grab the first piece of information and boom, that's truth. You know what I mean? Like, kid dies of coronavirus, 17 years old, headline. Yeah. And it's like, well, he didn't die from the coronavirus. They put that on page 14. You know what I mean? So if you're not digging for it, you're not finding the truth. You know what I mean? And the numbers don't make sense. And people are losing their shit over this. I know people that are really well put together, really smart, really capable people that are falling apart because nothing is real. And the answers that we're getting are so indecisive and so extreme from every direction. It's a political grab. It's a medical grab. They're grabbing for headlines. This person wants to push this issue, so they make that person look bad. And who the fuck knows what the truth is, man? Who knows?
Well,
and
to some degree, though, there are people who have been experts in this for 40 years, 40 years. And
right.
scientists, you know,
100%.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci at the fucking CDC, like that motherfucker knows his shit. Like that dude's been doing this shit. He's the Steve Vai of virus doctor or whatever the fuck. He's virologist.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah, I mean, let's just agree that Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert will forever be the best guitar references that ever existed, because both of those dudes are fucking aliens.
That's right.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
Like freaks of nature who fucking literally fucking worked harder than all of you all of us motherfuckers combined to be a badass. You know, and there's a couple of people those dudes, in the virus world that are like that. You know, there's like the Anthony Fauci's. There's the other guy who runs the WHO. Like
who's the modern Steve Vai, like the Tosin Abasi of fucking viral medicine. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, as far as what I understand, that Fauci dude's like pretty much it. Like he's been in the battle. You know, he's been in the front lines of this shit like since the AIDS crisis. And let's face it, here, the AIDS crisis hasn't been like beaten or anything. You know, like it's still a pandemic. You know, it's just a thing that we.
Well, I mean, it's good. This is going to be one of those things that I don't believe is ever going to go away. Like, I've never read or heard anything about a cure. I'm just hearing about we need to slow the curve of this so we can have the medical field have the time to figure out what precautions we need to take to make this controllable. That's where we're at right now. Yeah. And that's everything that I've read.
I can tell you here in California, I know that my stepmom just passed away, and it was kind of like it was very abrupt, and I'm not gonna. Yeah, thanks, I appreciate that. I talked about it a couple podcasts ago, so I'm, you know, I not to segue in that, but the only reason I bring it up is that she died very quickly. You know, like she was pretty much fine the night before, woke up with like hot sweats, and then like within like a really short amount of time, like an hour, she was like passed away, and it was really heavy. So we, you know, this was kind of during like the whole like the coronavirus thing hadn't been, I don't even think it had been officially declared a pandemic at this point, but it was enough on everybody's radar that we kind of knew like shit was already starting to happen. Like we had, you know, guidelines coming in California. And so I was like, hey, you know, we asked them when they did the autopsy, hey, can you test for coronavirus? And they really pushed back. Like they really, really pushed back on it. Like, no, you know, she's this, that. And we were like, well, you know, just kind of, you know, it wasn't like suspicious, but it was just very fast. And, you know, like we would like to know, because if she did have it, we might be infected.
We could have it.
Yeah, we might be infected, and we would want to then self-quarantine. You know, my dad's 83 years old. Like he might have had it too. Like, you know, I want to just know so that we can take precautions for ourselves to A, not give it to him, or B, not spread it to anybody else. And so 10 days goes by, you know, before they finally agree to do it. And then they do a coronavirus test 10 days after she dies, which, you know, in my opinion, the virus was probably already dead at that point, but they did it anyway. Right. I went ahead. I was with my dad for a week. I was just staying at his place and just kind of getting him through all of this. And then, you know, he was like, I'm good. You can, you know, go back to your family for a little bit. And so I went, I just immediately went to my local hospital, and I was like, hey, you know, I walked in, you know, I had heard that they were doing drive-through testings, because, you know, if you hear about Australia or, you know, South Korea, they're doing like drive-through testings, like thousands of people a day. And so I went there and I was like, hey, I heard there's drive-through testing. And the guy just laughed at me. He's like, what do you think this is, Australia? I was like, well, that's just what I heard, dude. And he's like, well, you know, like, what, you got symptoms? And I was like, well, I don't have any symptoms, but I think I could have been exposed because, you know, I told him the whole story, my stepmom, yada, yada, yada. So he sends me over to this area. I mean, it took me an hour to get through 5 different people explaining the same thing over and over and over again. You know, and I finally got there, and I got up to the doctor, and the doctor's just like, okay, we, you know, sit 6 feet apart, you know, hey, tell me everything going on. And I just said, hey, and he's like, I don't think you got it. And I was like, well, how about we just test me to just so I know, like, I don't want, if I have this,
can't figure out why it's spreading. I can't figure out why. Jesus,
can we fucking test me? And he's just like, he's like, we can't, sir. He's like, we just don't have enough tests and in the state to like really go through with that. And I was like, well, I kind of pushed the issue. And he's like, look, sir, we've got 400 test kits for all of Northern California.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? I was like, dude, like I've been hearing like, on the news that like, oh, the president's saying that we got all these things. He's like, no, we've got 400 for, that's 15 million people, Northern California.
Right.
I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, so it was a sobering thing. And it's not much different. I just had 3 friends who just got super deathly ill, all the fucking symptoms, coughing, fucking hacking, no fatigue, like all these symptoms. They all 3 went in. These people don't even know each other. 3 different friends went into 3 different hospitals and they couldn't get tested either. Like with the symptoms. I understood it. I didn't have the symptoms. They had the symptoms. Still didn't get tested.
Like they're visibly dealing with the issues. I have a friend in Ohio that's the same thing. He tried to get a test, and he's been talking about it on the internet a bunch about how like he's super sick. His throat feels like he's got razor blades in it, like he's falling apart. He's not having too many respiratory issues, but he's got all the telltale signs, and they're just like, well, when you have these other issues, come back and see me. So basically, it's like when you're ready to die, then we'll test you. But until then, just go home and drink some soup and watch TV.
And dude, when once the tests come out, like once people start getting tested, it's gonna like New York's got a shit ton of tests. That's why we know that New York is such that we're calling it the epicenter. But that's only because it's got the most tests. Like
that's what people aren't getting. Like, of course, the numbers are going up. It takes 2 weeks to get these tested. Like. Yeah. These are the issues that we're having right now. Like people are like, the numbers are skyrocketing. I'm like, no, they're not really. You're just, now the real numbers. Like these people have always had it. It's just now they have it. Like it's, and these are all scare tactics from the media. Like the media is not coming out and saying, listen, like remain calm. These numbers are only reflective of things that we kind of already knew, but it's just the proof. Like, these are the real numbers. Now we know, and now we can start to control things. They're just coming out every day. Higher numbers. It's like, well, every day tests from 2 weeks ago are coming back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think there's a reason for, a concern, and there's a reason for being safe and staying in your home and being smart. If you have to go places, carry some, hand sanitizer with you and be smart, but don't freak out. Don't panic. Like, don't lose it just yet. Like zombies aren't coming up out of the ground yet. You know what I mean? Like we're okay for now.
Do you know anybody that has it?
Well, I know a guy, like I said, my buddy Frank from Ohio, who he's showing symptoms, but I don't know anybody directly who has it.
So no direct, like no friends, no family, no.
Nobody has called me and been like, "Yo, my guy, I'm in the hospital right now." And you and I know lots of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a real weird thing to me because I know thousands of people because of my job, and the amount of people that I have a connection with on a daily basis is exponentially more than my wife who works in an office. You know what I mean? And she doesn't know anyone and I don't know anyone, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it's happening strange. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
My tour manager just tested positive yesterday.
Bummer. Well, I could take it back and I could say people that I have met, like Chuck Billy. I met him.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but now he's sick and he's in the hospital. So I guess there is some degree of relativity in me saying, yes, I know who he is. I've met him.
But no, I didn't mean like that though. I meant like someone, that's in your circle somehow.
No. Nobody close to me, as far as I know, is currently dealing with those issues, except for, like I said, my friend from Ohio who very well could have it, but they won't test them. So there's no definite yes or no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's flu season. How cruel is nature? Like flu season just ended. So we're at the end of flu season and then we got this virus and now I can go outside and wash my car and then tomorrow there'll be 1.5 inches of pollen on my car. So who the hell knows? Maybe I'm walking around with it right now because I'm sniffly and, I got really, really bad seasonal allergies. So who knows? Dude, Rob, I might have it right now.
Oh my God. I might know another person who's got it.
Yeah. Let's talk about music before I run to the hospital.
Let's talk about your car. Let's talk about your BMW. You're fascinated by BMWs,
here we go.
right?
Yeah, I have a problem.
Or is it more of a fascination, or is it like you're kind of addicted to them? I know you're really into it, right?
A little bit from column A and a little bit from column B.
Okay.
Is
it like sneakers to you? Like sneaker addiction?
I'm sitting here staring at a pile of shoes right now, as a matter of fact. Like I like to collect things, Rob.
Okay.
I have an overabundance of guitars. I have a bunch of guitar heads. I probably have 150 pairs of sneakers at any given time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I have a real problem. But I mean, I can tell you where it comes from. It comes from me growing up and not having anything. And then now having the ability to have some nice things.
Yes.
So now I have them. You understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like, I have really reeled it in. The car thing, I bought my first BMW a bunch of years ago, and I just fell in love with the brand. I love them. I think that, in my opinion, like, yeah, there's some really crazy, like, supercars I'd love to own, like a Bugatti, or like a Lamborghini, or a Ferrari, or something like that. But like, for me, like the obsession is with the German engineering. I love BMWs and I love Porsches. That's like my two favorite brands.
Nice.
The E46 M3, which is what's in my garage right now, I fell into a ridiculous deal because a good buddy of mine had one, and it's like perfect, and it's my dream car. Like, it's literally the car I've wanted since 2000. Like, I wanted it, and now I own it. So, and I really shouldn't have bought it, but the deal was, so I did that. And before that deal came along, I actually ended up buying a 135, which is my daily driver. So I've gotten lucky. I don't buy anything new. I don't have a lot of money. You know, I invest my time and my money into building these cars, and that's kind of the fascination with it for me, is making them faster, making them cooler,
nice.
That whole thing. But that's yeah, I do like cars a lot, and it's something my son likes, and we do it together, and my wife is starting to like it too. So it's like a family thing now, and we awesome. Go to car meets and car shows and do that whole thing. So it's kind of like a good healthy habit, or a good healthy hobby. Now that my hobby has become my career. Yeah.
You get so much hate on your Instagram page for it too. I love that you just continue to put it out too. Like, what the, dudes go bananas on your page over it. Like, what's the deal?
Like, well, I mean, what do you mean? Like, people giving me crap about posting about my cars?
Posting about your cars, like you're showing off. And I'm like, it doesn't seem like showing off to me. It seems like you're genuinely into the car. You know, like, it's like,
it's what I like.
It's like, like you're showing off, not showing off, like you're sharing your hobby. Like, that's what I take from it.
There's a lot of people out there that are into this hobby that I'm in. I'm in a car club. I have a bunch of friends that do it. And it's something that really occupies my time when, I need it to. Yeah. And everybody needs to have a little bit of a different thing.
Totally.
And, it's like Misha from Periphery is a really good example of this. Like, that guy's got a Performante, I think a Lamborghini Performante, and he's got a Porsche. The guy's got two really nice cars. And people get mad at him for having those nice things.
For having a Lambo.
But this guy's worked his ass off to get that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I buy used cars, and people get mad at me for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, at 44 years old, I can't afford to go out and buy a $20,000 used car. I got a lot more problems than worrying about what you're saying about me on the internet. There is, you know what I mean?
There is a mindset with some people, not a lot of people, but there is an annoying mindset that like we play music, like what, we don't deserve to make money, like.
Well, yeah. It's like how dare you have some nice things?
We've all got bills. We've all got kids, and we got fucking toilet paper. We got to buy toilet paper too. In fact, toilet paper is like fucking gold now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's where you take your stock up right now. The stock market's down, except fucking Bounty is worth $1 bajillion right now. You know what I mean?
Is it really?
Probably. I mean, I know that last time I checked the stock market, the airlines were down like 52% or something like that.
Yeah, it's insane.
So like when I flew home from Philadelphia I flew home from Newark to Atlanta, my flight was like $53.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Right. But I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, people find reasons to be mad at you for doing well, right? So if I was going out and buying $100,000 car, my wife would be yelling at me. I wouldn't be worried about the internet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But for me to go out and spend $17,000 on a used BMW from 2012, right? It's what I wanted. It's not that expensive. That's way less than buying a Honda.
That's not much at all. That's not even the price of a new Honda. Right.
Exactly. So if you're going to be mad at me for that, well, that's cool. You can be as mad at me as you want. I never claim to be rich or, you know, I'm a tattooer. I've been doing that for years. I work in a shop. Well, I was working in a shop. Now I'm opening my own shop.
Nice.
So like that's all on pause right now too with everything that's going on. But I'm working on that. But you know, I hustle. I come home from tour and I work and I do the things that I need to do to have the things that I want. And if people are mad at me for that, then hey man, have at it. You can be as mad at me as you want. I don't care. You know, I got way more important things to worry about.
Let's end with your favorite quarantine shows or series or movies that you've been watching. Have you finished Tiger King yet?
Oh my God. My wife was all over it. I watched some of it.
You haven't seen it?
But I watched some of it. My problem with programs like that is it's so hard for me to connect with that side of reality. You know what I mean? Like, that's real. That's actually
I tell you what,
real.
It was such a fascinating trade, and for me, it's like looking at like gigantic portions of my family. So I'm just looking at it, going, "Oh my God! Like this is just hitting way too close to home. It's just hitting way too close to home. Like Jesus Christ! Like everybody's on meth and strung out."
My fear is I'm going to see my son on a show like that in 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I tend to stay away from it, but.
You only watched like a couple episodes?
I think I've seen like 3 or 4 episodes, and everything I saw was very entertaining. But man, it's real tough for me to tie into that kind of programming because I mean, it's so hard. Because all right, you want me to be real? Let's be real.
It's called No Fucking Regrets, Pat. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
That actually exists, dude. Like humans are actually like that, and I don't want to believe it, but it's true. Like
it is,
I don't care who you love or where you're from or what color you are or how you live your life. Like, God damn it, like we're fucking humans. Like everybody is the same, but like when you work at being stupid and not improving, like that's a problem for me. That's the only problem that I have. Like if you can't improve and do better with whatever capacity you can do that, and you're not like striving to be a better person or, you know, better at the things that you do, a better family member, just bettering the world around you by bettering yourself. It's hard for me to tie into that kind of thing. Yeah. So that show is literally as stupid as something can be. Like, and
it's amazing. It's fucking great. I was riveted. I couldn't stop. We binged the last 4 episodes, like 4 hours straight. It's like when I was done, I was just reeling from what I watched. I was like, what the fuck did I just finish?
You're making me lose my air. I'm like laughing too hard, but
it's fucking great.
Yeah. My wife was so stoked on it. And like, we could do a social experiment right now. Like I could yell down to my wife and be like, Robb's talking about Tiger King. She will come and take the headphones out of my ears, and you will have a whole new podcast.
I'll have her on the podcast next. I'll have her for the Tiger King.
I'm telling you, it would be a good podcast.
He's a national treasure. He's a national fucking treasure.
That guy, man. The memes are incredible to me.
He's amazing.
Let's talk about a really important show that's on TV right now.
Okay.
It's called Hunters.
I just finished it.
And listen, I cried like 4 times.
It's heavy.
Like if that show does not make you hate that people are allowed to breathe, like I don't know what can. Like it's the most heavy. Like when you first go into it, you're gonna be like, yeah, this is sick. Like it's gonna be about Jewish people killing Nazis. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And then when you get into it and you start seeing the things that go on, and like I was like fully disgusted the whole time. And the plot twist at the end, that like Usual Suspect style like plot twist, I was like blown away.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the kind of show that like everybody should watch, because it really kind of gives you a real keen sense of some things that happen that maybe you don't know happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers, but man, I get that, like the documentation of the paperclip thing.
Oh,
where I was just like, and I was like, I kept like the first time it comes, like, it's like, this is real, and I was like, I don't know if, and then, like my wife, when I looked at it, like, is that shit real? Like, is that real? And I was like, no, that shit ain't real. And then like it kept on coming in, and I was like, this shit's real, isn't it? Like, holy shit.
It's fucking real. And like my wife, like we're watching it and I just hear tick, 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 and I look over and her thumbs are flying on the phone, because she loves anything like that's related to World War II. Because I mean, the way she explains it to me is like, how can people follow so blindly?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how can people think that this is okay? So she's got this like weird, sick obsession with like anything related to that, because the idea that many people can get behind a genocide and actually believe that it's good is fucking incredibly wild. I'm pretty sure you're just hanging up on me on purpose now.
That's right. Actually, my wife called just now, and I was just like, I went to go press ignore, and then I switched to her. I was like, what the fuck? I pressed don't connect. Okay.
She controls. Your wife controls the information highway.
Yeah, the Hunters was great.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. But like I was saying about like my wife's obsession with this thing, so she immediately goes and looks up that paperclip thing, right? Rob, I can't believe it's real. It's people need to be into that show. That show's incredible. And if you don't feel like shit after you watch it, like you have to seriously question your belief system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was heavy.
But
it was heavy.
What else? What else you got for me? You got anything?
What else you got for me? What else have you guys been watching? Have you watched any movies? Any movies?
We've been watching a lot of Adventure Time with my son.
Love Adventure Time. I love Adventure Time.
It's incredible. What else have I been watching?
I watch that shit all day.
I watched Creed 2 last night.
Okay.
And that's pretty incredible. I'm a big Rocky fan.
Yep.
And Ivan Drago is in this new one, and it's really sick. So that was pretty good.
I think we watched that a while ago. I want to say that was good.
Yep. That's a good one. I'm trying to think. You know how it is when you're on tour and you come home, everything's new.
Yeah.
So I've been touring so much that like now I'm just like trying to catch up. What else have we been watching? I can't remember. I know we binge watched Hunters, and that took me like 4 days to get through the whole series. I think there's 10 or 11 of them.
Yeah, that was good.
Dracula. There's this Dracula thing that's on Netflix. Maybe it's pretty interesting. I'm into like the horror movie stuff sometimes.
Yep.
And that was pretty good. That's about it. I started watching Dracula 3000 the other day, and I just couldn't get through the first 10 minutes of it, and I turned that off.
Yeah,
but,
I started watching the new Adam Sandler Uncut Gems, and we didn't finish it, and I was like, we started it hella late, and I just kind of, I don't know, it didn't grab me. Like I didn't even get to the ending. I was just like, I'm fucking tired. I'm just going to bed.
Yeah,
which it rarely happens with me. Like I usually stay at least. I don't know what it was. I just didn't. I want to see the ending of it just because I said that, but like somewhere along the line it lost me. He was great, just the storyline kind of lost me.
Yeah.
But I tell you what though, we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Dude, thank you. I mean, like it's pretty awesome to be able to like chat with you about almost the whole time about non-music related stuff, and like that's pretty cool. So I'm really stoked that we did this. It's definitely awesome.
Right on, dude. Hell yeah. Thanks for being on No Fucking Regrets.
Well, thank you for having me, and everybody stay safe, and hopefully we'll all see you on the road soon.
Hell yeah. Patrick Sheridan.
No fucking regrets!
With Robb Flynn.